Welcome to the 2017 Override Paladin Guide video, where in this video I'm going to teach you guys tips and tricks and things you didn't know about the Paladin. Now, if you're here just to see what all the skills look like and do, click away because those videos are everywhere on YouTube. In this video, I'm actually going to teach you guys how to play the class, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Alright, let's start off with Hammer of Righteous. So with this skill right here, it works together with Elemental Charge, and you have to gain charges to gain a hammer. It's kind of like a passive effect. So here's one charge, and you see it automatically appears. If you look at the top, it lasts for about 30 seconds. Mine's more because I have buff duration, and it pretty much lasts here forever as long as you keep making charges. So this is what it looks like, and it does 2 lines of damage. When you activate it, it does 3 lines of damage. Now, you have to have at least 1 hammer to actually activate it. You see, right now I have 3, now I have 4 or 5, and this right here is what it looks like. So it does 3 lines of damage. And then when you disable it, it does 2 lines. And make sure to see at the top, my charges always refresh. It refreshes every time you use the charges, so it can pretty much last forever. Alright. That's pretty much it. So a lot of people are saying that the Paladin sucks at farming. Well, not anymore, because we have Hammer of Righteous with Heaven's Hammer, and with Heaven's Hammer, get the hyper skill to reduce the cooldown, and also combat orders. So with combat orders, when you use it, see, mine was 15 seconds, now it's 14 seconds, plus the hyper skill, and you see when me using it, it was 9-second cooldown now. Now, what you want to do, you want to make sure you have the Mercedes character card, because this right here will give you more cooldown reduction, and have a mechanic for more buff duration. So these are good tools that you want to use on your Paladin. So yeah, it's a really great skill, and the cooldown is very, very low. Also, with farming, I like to use Blitz Shield, as you can see in the corner right here. Blitz Shield, it just kind of like hits everything. You can activate it, and I like to use Weapon Aura, as you can see right here. That's what it looks like. With Weapons Aura, I like to use Blast, because with Blast and Weapons Aura, it uses the lines of damage that Blast gives you, but it's like but you hit multiple enemies with Weapon Aura. Now you can see right here, you see how my Hammer of Righteous went on cooldown. I'm just using all my skills, like all my AoE skills, to hit them all. So it's pretty good. The cooldown is really low. It's 60-second cooldown, and the duration when you activate it is 30 seconds. So right here we have Divine Echo right here. So what this skill does is pretty much mimics like a clone of your skills on your ally. And you can see right here, I'm just like, see double hammers, your ally has it, and it gives your ally final damage, and it mimics your skills. Not all of the skills work, but only some of them. Now it also has a self buff that you can use, and the self buff just gives you final damage, and that's it. So the next one we have here is Magic Crash. So with Magic Crash, you can use it to disable buffs on enemies' heads. I don't think you can use it to disable, like, I think there's a limit to how many mobs you can disable, but you saw right there I use it to disable like a whole bunch of them. So you can use it to disable like stuff like that increases their damage, their defense, their speed, and stuff like that. And you can also use this to disable damage reflect, also known as DR, and weapon cancel. The way to use that is you have to make sure you activate Magic Crash before the boss activates that skill. So you can see right there I activate it, there's the animation, and same thing right here with Hilla. The animation will come out, but the effect, the icon won't appear on the boss's head. That's how you use it. Okay, so now what's better? One-handed weapon, two-handed weapon, shield or no shield, sword or hammer? Now if you're playing on non-reboot, I would recommend using a one-handed weapon and a shield. Why? Because in non-reboot, you can scroll your shield and make your shield, you can give your shield a lot of extra stats that you can't get on reboot. On reboot, using a two-handed weapon, you gain so much extra raw damage, but on non-reboot, you can gain all that back from if you use a one-handed weapon, you can gain all that back plus more if you use a shield, because you can scroll the shield. You can't do those with the secondary weapon. Okay, that's why I'm saying it's better to use a one-handed weapon and a shield on reboot. On reboot, I'd recommend using a two-handed weapon, and you obviously can't use a shield and a two-handed weapon. You have to use a secondary weapon. Now, if you're using a secondary weapon, don't get it over here, because if you get it over here, you're only getting 3 attack. I would recommend getting the secondary weapon at Evolution Lab. Make sure that you have enough coins to get it, and you're gaining 5 extra attack, so it's better to get that one. Yeah, so two-handed weapons, in my opinion, they're better on reboot, and one-handed weapon is better on non-reboot. Now, you see the skill right here, High Paladin. What's better, sword or hammer? Now, you can see right here, what you're gaining with the hammer is plus 10 ignore enemy defense, and what you're gaining with the sword is 5 critical damage. You gain 3 critical damage using a hammer, but you gain 5 with the sword, so it's 2 difference. It's 2% difference. My honest opinion, I think if you're going for late game, like if you like to do like bossing and stuff, I think the hammers are better because you have ignore enemy defense, so I think it's gonna help you. But if you're focusing on just mobbing, I think it's better to use a sword because a lot of mobs don't have that much defense, not like bosses do. So I think that extra crit damage might help, but at the end of the day, I really don't think it matters too much. I think it's just all personal preference. Like maybe if you like the way it looks, then use that. But yeah, I personally think the hammer is better because with the hammer, it suits the Paladin because he has like hammer skills and stuff like that. Alright you guys, let's talk about the hyper skills. Which ones you should pick. I think I have probably the best setup for it. That's just my opinion though. Threaten, I didn't take any points in Threaten. I think the enhanced one for Threaten is pretty good. But yeah, I would recommend taking Heaven's Hammer, the cooldown reduction. I wouldn't take this right here because it only works against bosses, that 1 extra number of attacks. I think it's kind of useless. 20% damage is really good, and then Blast, extra number of attacks for Blast is really good. You know, increase the crit and the damage percent is really good. I think if you were going to take a point in Threaten, I think the enhanced one is the best one out of them all. I think you should probably take out the 20% from Heaven's Hammer, but other than that, I think it's already good how I have it set up. Also take Rope Lift because Rope Lift just helps you with like moving around and stuff. Okay, so let's talk about the hyper stats. These 5 is what I would focus on because I think they're the best ones to use. Now, there's no one size fits all. It really depends on your equipment. As you can see right here, I have a high percent of critical chance. So if your critical chance is very low, then you might want to put it up on here. You know, it really depends. Like there's no this is better for this for every class or whatever. It really depends. I think ignore defense is really good. The only reason why I don't have it is because my character is very weak and I can't kill like these very strong bosses with high defense. So I'm just focusing on mobs, and mobs don't have much defense. Like compared to bosses, they don't have as much defense. So I'd rather put up critical damage. Plus I have a very high critical chance. And also you can see right there, like I have critical like 30% there, and then I have like 12% for my weapon. So, you know, I don't need to put it up in the hyper stat. Now, there's damage percent right here. This is a must. I would definitely take this one. This is like the only like one size fit all thing, damage percent. Boss damage is good too. For some odd reason, I'm seeing people max out boss damage instead of damage percent. Boss damage only works against bosses, okay? Damage works against bosses and mobs. It works against everything. They're both good points to pick, and I definitely pick both of them. V Matrix. Let's talk about V Matrix for a bit. So this one right here, a lot of people think that you should level up this right here, the charges, which is not bad, but I wouldn't recommend maxing out the charges because you don't use the charges that often because we have Hammer of Righteous. You're mainly gonna be like bouncing up and down. The best node that I would recommend maxing is try to find a node like this. You have Heaven's Hammer, Blast, Divine Charge is really good too in there. What would make it probably, well, what I would say would make it this even better is to take Heaven's Hammer, Blast, and probably Final Attack, which is over here. I'd probably take something like that if you can find that. But both are really good. this is just my opinion. I just recommend doing that because Heaven's Hammer, the cooldown's so low, so you're gonna use it really often. Blast is what you're gonna use when bossing, and then I guess Divine Charge, what you're gonna use against like mobbing next to like, you know, Heaven's Hammer. But yeah, those are the ones that I would like mainly get. And then obviously, yeah, you want to max these 4 right here. I think they're really good, and they like Blitz Shield and Weapon Aura definitely helps you out a lot when farming. Plus, it's fun to use those skills because it gets boring using the same skills all the time. So having these 2 extra skills just makes it more fun, I guess. So yeah, those are what I would use for the node stones. Alright you guys, let's talk about the pros and the cons about this class. Let's start with the pros first. This class has elemental damage. Some mobs are weak against certain elements, so that's really good. This class has one of the highest survivabilities in the game. You can go invincible, you have shields, you have great defense, very high defense, especially at low levels. You have great utility. You can give your teammates an aura. You can give them a buff that gives them +2 to all skills. You can revive your teammates. You can weaken mobs and bosses, so that's really good. I think the bossing, like when soloing, like bossing, I think it's decent. It's not the best, but it's pretty good. You have blast that gives you a lot of lines of damage. You use that with Hammer of Righteous, and I think it's pretty good. Yeah, so let's talk about the cons. So, the cons, the Paladin is very boring to play at the start of the game until you get to higher levels because you're going to be using your charges until you get Hammer of Righteous. Because when you get that skill, you're not going to be using those charges over and over like that. You're not going to use it that often. And in my opinion, I think this class is very weak until you get Hammer of Righteous because the damage is greatly increased when you get that skill. You also have very low mobility until you get Rope Lift, so I'd recommend getting that Node Stone. And the last one I would say is that this class, it doesn't really have any skills that can give you like boss percent, ignore target defense, stuff like that. It doesn't really have skills that give you that kind of stuff. It does have High Paladin that gives you like 10% ignore target defense and like maybe like a little bit of crit damage. That's about it. But boss percent damage, it doesn't give you anything like that. And if you're gonna compare this class with other classes that have that kind of skill, then this class is definitely near the bottom of the list. But other than that, I think this class is still really great, and I think it's still really fun. And I don't think you guys should play classes that are at the highest for the DPS charts, because those charts change every couple of months. So there's no point in maining a class that's at the highest of the DPS if it's just gonna change in the next couple of months. So remember to play what you find the most fun, because I think that's more important than playing a class that may be at the bottom of the DPS charts a couple months later. Alright you guys, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys want to know what tools I use to create the video, all that stuff will be in the description below. I'm also thinking of changing my class to a Dark Knight or a Hero, that way I can make more guide videos for those classes. So if you want to see that, let me know in the description below. And yeah, that's it. So I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. And here is a cinematic video clip edit.
Sometimes when you're here, I can feel no doubts, 'cause you keep me where the stars are found. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really